ELYSE TV.
You have done such a great job.
You ready to meet Zaya? Any second now. Hi, sweetie. Hi, sweetie. Hello. Hello, Mama. Hello. There's your mommy. There's your mommy. There's your mommy. Oh my God. Hi, sweet pea.
Yeah.
Hi, love. You gonna open your eyes? Are you gonna open your eyes, Mama? You got your daddy's mouth. You get your daddy's little mouth. We knew you did, precious. Hey, precious. There you go. Oh, thanks, guys. Oh, I want my mommy. Hi, Zaya Bear. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, that warm light feels kind of good, doesn't it?
Hey guys, what's up? It's Raven and I am back. Yes, I am back. It feels so good to be sitting down filming a video right now. I feel like I have not filmed a video in like 27 years, even though it's only been like 1 month, but 1 month feels like a long time in the YouTube world. And while I've been gone, obviously, a lot has changed. A lot has changed. Yeah, Zaya Bear was born. That's why I've been gone. In case you're new here or in case you're just lost in the sauce, I just gave birth to my first child, Zaya Rainwalker, and she is so precious and perfect. And yeah, so that is going to be the topic of this video. I wanted to come back and definitely do my labor and delivery story. So that's what this video is going to be. I got several requests to at least come on here and do a chit chat story time labor and delivery video, since I did not actually like vlog or film it necessarily, so I wanted to at least kind of talk y'all through it and tell y'all the story and tell y'all my experience with giving birth, which is like still crazy for me to even say that right now. Like, did I really just have a baby? Like, is this real life? Okay, so just in case you are new to my channel, if this is like the first video that you're watching of mine, I found out that I was pregnant in August of last year, and I was so hoping for a baby girl, and I found out that I was having a girl, so I was so excited, and I picked out her name like pretty early on. Her name is Zaya Rain, Z-I-Y-A-R-A-Y-N-E, and yeah, so after that I was already like doing my weekly vlog, so I pretty much vlogged my whole pregnancy, and I also did separate pregnancy update videos. So if you are interested in kind of how my whole pregnancy went and what was going on in my life at that time, I do definitely have a lot of videos about that, so you can definitely check out the rest of my videos on my channel if you are kind of interested in more of the backstory. But for this video, I'm really just gonna kind of tell y'all the story of my labor and delivery. So basically, when I left you guys, the last video that I posted was Raise Week episode 29, my weekly vlog, and I was anxiously awaiting the time that I was going to go into labor. It was kind of a toss-up when exactly I was going to go into labor, because I knew, based on my calculations personally, I knew that her due date would have been around, I was saying April 6th. April 6th was the day that I had in my head that I was pretty sure was her real due date. But when I went to the doctor for my first ultrasound, when they did my ultrasound, they looked at the baby and they said, well, based on our measurements, we think that her due date should be March 28th. And I was thinking in my head, I was like, no, I was counting up the weeks and the days, and I was like, based on what I know, I don't think that's right, but you guys are the doctors, so I'm gonna trust you. We're gonna go with March 28th. Cool. So from then on out, I just used March 28th as my due date, and I told all of you guys that it was March 28th. So when March 28th rolled around and I did not go into labor, of course I was getting comments saying like, oh, do you need to be induced? You're late, like it's taking too long, blah, blah, blah. But really in my head, I was thinking like, no, I think I was just right, and I think it's really gonna be April 6th. So March 28th was a Monday, and at that time, around that whole time, like the following week after that, I had decided that I was going to start staying at my parents' house, which is where I'm at right now. I have my own apartment where Zaya's nursery is and everything. You know, I have my own space, but I live there alone. So I felt like it would make more sense for me to come and stay at my parents' house with my parents. That way, if I randomly go into labor in the middle of the night, I won't just be, you know, by myself, and I'll have some support around me and somebody to take me to the hospital and everything like that. And you never know which day, if it's going to be in the middle of the night or whatever. So after March 28th, I started staying at my parents' house, or at least staying the night. Like sometimes I would spend the day at my apartment, you know, getting work done and stuff like that. And then I would come spend the night at my parents' house just to be safe. So April 6th was the day that I had predicted in my head. March 28th was Monday. And then the next, I'm looking at my calendar, the next Wednesday after that was April 6th. And at this point, I was like, okay, it's kind of, I feel like I'm getting a little bit anxious. So maybe I do want to start trying some natural remedies to induce labor. You know, my doctor had asked me if I wanted to schedule an actual induction, like with Pitocin or whatever, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to go that whole forced medical route, but I was willing to try some like natural ways, like old midwives, you know, tricks to try and induce labor. Castor oil, raspberry leaf tea, and there's this other, I think it was an oil, rose something oil, I don't know. But it's like 3 things that you can get at Whole Foods, totally natural. Yeah, I think it was on April 6th when I decided, okay, I'm gonna go to Whole Foods, I'm gonna get these 3 things, I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna try it, see if it makes me go into labor, whatever. I don't really think it is going to, but whatever. I ended up getting all 3 things, but I only ended up actually drinking just the raspberry tea, and I just had like one little small mug of it. And I was here at my parents' house, I drank a little small mug of tea, my mom made dinner, we sat down to dinner, didn't feel anything, like nothing changes. So after dinner, my mom was like, okay, let's go on a walk around the neighborhood. You know, walking gets things flowing, gets things going, maybe you just need to walk it out. But like as soon as we start walking, like I take like 5 steps, and I'm like, wait a minute, I feel something. I think I feel a contraction, which mind you, I had previously been already having like Braxton Hicks contractions, which if you don't know, is basically just like practice contractions, where it's like just a really light contraction. It really doesn't hurt, but you kind of feel a slight tensing up in your uterus area. So I've been having those kind of contractions for like weeks already. That doesn't really mean anything. But this time when we walked out in the neighborhood and I took a few steps, I was like, no, this contraction feels different. It feels stronger. Not yet to the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, it hurts, but it definitely feels different. It feels stronger. So I'm like telling my mom, and she's like, well, tonight might be the night. And I'm like, no. So this is like at 7:30 at night or whatever. So we continue walking, going on a little walk around the neighborhood. And at this point, we're walking around the neighborhood, and like every 5 minutes, I'm having one of those contractions. And I'm thinking in my head, like, okay, wait, maybe something really is happening. So we continue our whole walk. I walk it out. I'm like, you know, I just need to walk it out. We get back in the house. By the time we get back in the house, it's like, okay, the contractions are starting to pick up. I definitely am uncomfortable now. I don't want to say necessarily in pain or anything, but definitely uncomfortable. Definitely something is happening. So I sit down, I'm like, okay, I need to relax. And then they start feeling more strong, each one feeling more strong. Now I'm in pain. Now when the contractions come, I'm definitely in pain. It's not fun. I was sitting in a chair at first, and then I was like, okay, that's not comfortable. Let me lay down. Okay, lay on my side. No. So I'm just like in my mom's bedroom, like on her bed, on her chair, on her floor, on all fours, like trying to get a comfortable position. Nothing is comfortable. And so I realized, well, my mom realizes that I have been having contractions every 5 minutes for the past 2 hours, because it's like 9 p.m. now. And she's like, Usually when it's every 5 minutes for 2 hours or more, that's when you go to the hospital. So she calls the hospital, tells them what's happening, and, you know, asks them, you know, do we need to come to the hospital? And the nurse or whatever, she's like, yeah, you do, like, you come to the hospital. When I overhear that in the phone, I'm like, wait, what? Like, I don't, this is all happening so fast. I'm already going to the hospital. Like, I don't feel like this should be happening yet. I don't know. It was kind of like a conflicting feeling of like, this is all happening too fast. I don't feel like I should have gone to the hospital yet. At the same time, I am definitely in labor, so I know I need to go to the hospital. Since I wasn't in excruciating pain or anything, I was able to take my time with getting to the hospital. I took a warm bath first. Like, I put warm water in the bathtub and I just like got in there and like tried to relax and it did actually help a lot with the contractions that I was having. So I kind of relaxed in the warm bath at my mom's house for a little bit, and then, you know, got the bag together, and, you know, we weren't like rushing like, oh my God, we have to get to the hospital right now. Like, it wasn't like that at all. Like, we were totally taking our time. My dad was gonna drive me and my mom to the hospital, and my little sister, of course, is here, but she had school in the morning and stuff, so she stayed behind. So it was me, my mom, and my dad was driving us. So we get in the car, and at this point I'm like, okay, this actually really hurts now. Like no joke, like I'm actually in real pain. I wouldn't say excruciating, because of course it gets worse, but yeah, this is pain. We start driving, we drive like this far, like barely, and I'm like, I have to throw up, and my dad just stops the car like at the neighbor's house basically, and I just open the car door and like throw up my whole life. Like, feels like everything I've ever eaten in my whole life came up. And if you know me, you know that I have a phobia of vomiting. Fun fact, I usually do everything in my power not to vomit, even if I'm feeling nauseous, because I just hate vomiting. And in that moment, I was like, who cares? Like, I do not even care. And I just like threw up everywhere. And then after that, I was like, okay, well, I felt better now. I guess my body was trying to prepare itself or something. I don't know. But I did not know that throwing up was ever a part of being in labor. So that really caught me off guard. I never heard anybody say that before. So anyway, threw up, get back in the car. Well, my dad, you know, of course I'm all like disgusting now, and my mom's like, go get a towel so she can wipe her face. So he just like leaves the car parked by the neighbor's house, and he runs out and goes back in the house to get a towel. And he runs back and he gives me the towel, and we're like, okay, hurry up. Yeah, things are really gonna start now, hurry up, we gotta drive kind of fast, whatever. So now we're kind of more, not in a panic, but a little bit more in a rush. We get to the hospital, it's not that far, it's like 10 minutes away from 15 minutes away from my parents' house. We get there, we get checked in, and my dad is like bringing me my bag, and I look down and I'm like, Dad, why do you not have any shoes on? My dad had came to the hospital barefoot because he was in such a rush to go get me a towel and get in the car and everything. Like, he was just in such a, I guess he was in such a frenzy or whatever, that he was completely barefoot standing in the hospital. And I was like, my mom was like, why didn't you get your shoes? He was like, oh, I didn't have time. And my mom was like, you always have time to get your shoes. But meanwhile, I'm still having like really intense contractions, and my mom's like trying to get me like checked in, and I'm just like chilling in a wheelchair while she's like checking me in, because there was just a wheelchair that just happened to just be sitting there, and I was like, I'll take that. And finally, like, the nurse came down and she takes me in the wheelchair, take me up the elevator, take me up into the maternity ward or whatever, and they take me into triage, which I had known this because I went on the hospital tour previously, where they explain to you how everything goes when you come in and you're in labor. They tell you what the process is. So I knew this, but I wasn't thinking of it at the time. But they had to keep me in triage for a couple of hours just to monitor me and see if I was really in labor. So basically, that's just triage. Basically is they hook you up to like all the belly straps where they can monitor your contractions and stuff, and they just have you just laying there in the bed for a couple of hours. Meanwhile, you're in pain, and like, they're not letting you eat anything, they're not letting you have any medicine or any painkillers or anything. Like, they just need to sit there and monitor you. And you can't, like, you know, when I was at home, I could get up and move around and stand up and sit down, or get in the warm tub or do something to kind of ease my pain. But here in triage, while they were monitoring me, I couldn't do anything. So I was just laying in this cold room with this nothing but the little gown on, and they're monitoring me, and like my contractions are getting so bad at this point that I'm starting to now scream at this point, and you can tell that I'm really in pain at this point, so I'm vocalizing it. And I was just thinking like, I need to get into the delivery room. Like, of course I'm in labor. Why do you guys need to monitor if I'm in labor? Of course I'm in labor. Like, do you not see me? Do you not hear me? And then I'm throwing up again. I start throwing up again, and they're like giving me like a little bit of ice water. That was like well, it wasn't the worst part, but that part of it was pretty bad because it was just so uncomfortable to just be sitting there and like waiting. But finally they come back in and they're like, okay, you're in labor, let's take you to the delivery. I'm like, duh, of course, I've been in labor like this past hour. I'm like, like making probably all types of noises and screaming and stuff because now the contractions are painful. It's really hard to explain what the pain feels like or what the whole thing feels like because it's unlike any other pain. Not that it's like so bad that it's unlike any other pain you can ever imagine. Not in that way, but it's just not like, it's similar to menstrual cramps. It's similar to if you have like, I know some girls have really severe cramps when they have their period. So I would say it's probably similar to that because it's definitely in your like tummy uterus area, and it's definitely a tightening, cramping, just like this. Imagine if your uterus was just like being, not even being squeezed, but just, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but at first it's just kind of like, oh, tight, it's kind of tight. Okay, it's getting really tight. Okay, now it's really cramping. Now it's really, and then once you get to the top where you're like really having contractions, it's just like tightening to the point where like my whole body felt like not only my uterus was contracting, but my whole entire body was contracting, and I would have to like tense up and just try to breathe through it and try to like scream through it or whatever. It's just, I don't know, it's definitely painful, but it was painful in a different way than I was expecting, and it's definitely really hard to explain. So anyway, by the time they finally decide that I'm really in labor, that's how I'm feeling. And I'm having, and it's basically like, I would say every minute, maybe every minute or every 2 minutes, I'm like having this pain, and then you can like catch your breath, and then you have pain, and it's just, it was not fun. And it's just a scary situation because this is my first time, besides when I like took the tour or whatever, this is my first time being in a hospital, being in any type of medical situation where you're being hooked up to an IV, where they're monitoring you, where there's a nurse and there's a doctor, and there's kind of like that medical commotion around you, which can be really scary. So for someone like me who also has anxiety, that combined with the pain that you're feeling, it's just like not a fun experience. They take me out of the little triage monitoring room now that they decide I'm in labor, and they are transferring me into the actual delivery room. This is the room, the bed that you're actually going to have your baby in. So they get me transferred there. I'm in a lot of pain, like I keep saying, and they get me hooked up to the IV. And they're telling me, we're gonna get you an epidural, we're gonna get you an epidural. And what was funny was like in my head, I'm like, thank you, like yes, okay, I need it. But it was funny because I never asked for it. Like I wasn't saying like, I need an epidural, I need a medication, blah, blah, blah. I was just clearly in that much pain that they didn't even really need to ask me if I wanted it or if I needed it. They could just tell that I needed it, and they were just already getting it ready, which for me was good because yes, I did want it. Obviously, if I did not want it, I would say no, and I could have said no, but I didn't want to say no. But that was one thing that I really liked, is because I know some people's experience, they're like having to beg for their epidural, having to beg for some pain medication, and then it like takes forever, and then they don't even get it in time, and they kind of feel like they were like cheated out of their pain medication, I guess, or it took too long, or they wouldn't let them get it when they wanted it or whatever. But for me, it was the complete opposite. Like they were ready. They were like, okay, as soon as we get you in here, we're getting the epidural ready. Like he's coming in to do it. Like don't worry, it's gonna be a few minutes. We got it going already. So I was like, thank God that y'all are on top of things when it comes to this pain medication, because yes, I do need it. And I did not initially plan on just automatically getting the epidural. Like I had kind of planned on trying to go with no pain medication and kind of trying to tough it out as much as I could, but it was all happening so fast that I just couldn't even, no, like just give me the epidural. I have to sit crisscross applesauce and lean over on the bed so he can get to my back. And I was really mostly scared of like the needle, I guess, because I felt like it was going to be a big needle and it was going to like really hurt and blah blah blah. But when he put the needle in, I did not feel it at all. It wasn't bad to like actually get the epidural at all. And he's like, you know, it takes a little bit for it to kick in. So I'm like, you know, I lay back down, I'm still having contractions and it's like really bad at this point. Like I'm squeezing my mom's hand to, like, I probably was like breaking her fingers. I was squeezing her hand so hard and I was like moaning and groaning and screaming. I don't think I was screaming like, ah, like screaming bloody murder like that, but just like really intense, like moaning and groaning because it hurts. And it's to the point where like you're not even trying to make noise, but your body is just making the noise because it's very uncomfortable. So I'm waiting for the epidural to kick in and it's like, it's not kicking in. Like nothing is letting up. Like each contraction is almost feels like it's getting still worse. So she's like, okay, I'll have him come put more medicine in there. And so he comes and adds some more and I wait. And now the only thing that I feel is happening is my whole right leg is completely numb. I can't feel it at all. Like I can't wiggle my toes, I can't do anything. And that was kind of scary at first because they tell you, like you hear all these horror stories of like epidural is gonna paralyze you or something like that. And all I feel is like I cannot feel my leg, but I still feel all of the pain. So I was like, what is happening? Like, what is the point here? So I was like, that was pointless. I should have just not even got the epidural. And then I could say that I had a completely natural birth, but whatever. So I'm still in pain and I'm just there waiting for the epidural. It's like, why is it not kicking in? Like I'm in so much pain right now. Like each contraction, like it's like I can barely catch my breath in between. And then the nurse is like, okay, well, you know, your epidural is not kicking in, I'm sorry, but it's time to push. Do you think that you can start pushing for me now? And I'm like, no! Like I literally said no. And she was like, well, it's time, you have to start pushing. And I'm like, no. And I think I was saying no and I was like getting more like riled up, mostly just because of like fear and anxiety, not so much of like the pain or anything. Like, yes, I was in pain. Yes, I was very uncomfortable. But at the same time, I was very, I don't want to say scared, but I guess scared is the best way to put it, because with labor, everything kind of gets worse and worse and worse until you have your baby. Like I started off having contractions. I thought that was painful. No, it gets more painful. These contractions are really what's painful. So I kept thinking in my head, like, how many more levels of pain are there? Like I'm already in so much pain right now that I don't know if I can handle the next level of pain after this, and then I'm about to start pushing. Is that going to hurt even more? So all these thoughts are kind of going through my head and I'm like really scared to start pushing. I just felt like everything was happening so fast. I guess in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't really happening that fast because by the time I arrived at the hospital at about 10 p.m. and then like I said, they had to keep me in triage and check if I was really in labor for like an hour. So like by the time I was like actually checked in and everything, it was probably like midnight or after midnight. And then now, after having contractions for so long and trying to get the epidural right and blah, 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 now that they're telling me to start pushing, it's about 3 a.m. So it's already been, you know, I started technically having contractions at 7:30 p.m. and now it's 3 a.m. So it's been several hours that all this has been going on, but to me it feels like it's kind of been happening so fast. And so I think it was just a lot of, like I said, anxiety and not being ready for this to happen and like how much more is it gonna hurt and blah blah blah. So I was just starting to get like really worked up. But she was just like, no, just okay, you gotta get in position, you gotta do it, you can do it, blah, blah, blah. The nurses that were now in the room, because there was like a couple more now, they were actually like really good and helpful, like really encouraging and, you know, kind of, you know, getting me pumped up, like you can do it, whatever. Because it was just me and my mom. Like my mom was the only person in the hospital with me like this whole time. But like the nurses were really helpful. And so she's like, okay, start pushing. So, you know, you get into position, put your legs up or whatever. You guys have all seen it in the movies. And she's just like, okay, on your next contraction, when you start feeling that contraction pain, push like you're trying to poop. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, this is about to hurt so bad. That's all I was thinking in my head was, this is about to hurt so bad. Like all the pain that I've already been in this whole time, this is about to hurt so much more. And I was just trying to prep myself. So I take a deep breath and then I do my first push and I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't hurt at all. Like for some reason, when I started actually pushing, there was no pain. Like, I don't know if it was like adrenaline or I don't know what it was, but there was no pain when I was like actually pushing. And so I was like, push 1, 2, count to 10, just like in the movies or whatever. And then push one more time, push one more time. Like I said, I started pushing at about 3 a.m. I only pushed like 6 times, maybe for like 20 minutes because Zaya was born at 3:26 a.m. And a lot of people, especially when it's their first child, they are pushing for like at least an hour. But I only pushed for like 20 minutes, like a couple of pushes, like she was out. Because they were saying that I was pushing like really good and really hard. I guess I was just like I said, like adrenaline beast mode, like time to get this over with. But it was just so crazy how it didn't hurt. Like I was thinking that that was going to be the part that would hurt the most, to actually push the baby out. But that was the part that did not hurt at all. I wouldn't say it was epidural though, because I could still feel everything. It wasn't numb. The only thing that was numb was my right leg. I still feel the contractions that I was having. I could still feel everything. Like nothing in that region was numb. But yes, Zaya was born at 3:26 a.m. after only a few pushes, and my mom had called my dad when I started pushing to tell him like, okay, she's starting to push. You should come now, like come back to the hospital now. She's probably gonna be pushing for like an hour. You should start heading over here now. And my dad did not even make it in time. Like I pushed so fast that he did not make it in time. So it was just, my mom was just there whenever Zaya was born. So like I know everyone says like super corny or whatever, like super cliche, that it's like the most like life-changing, craziest moment in your life whenever your child is born, but it seriously is. Like it's unexplainable. It's an unexplainable feeling when you've been carrying this life in your tummy for the past 9 months, and you haven't, you have the ultrasounds or whatever, so you kind of feel like you can kind of see what they look like or whatever, but really you haven't ever seen them. And then all of a sudden you can actually see them face to face. All of a sudden you see an actual baby, like real life, in front of you being put onto your chest. It's the craziest thing. It's literally, it's just unexplainable. Like I don't know how to explain it to you guys, but it was the best feeling ever. I was so happy whenever they put her on my chest. They wipe her off a little bit, put her, do skin to skin, and that was like literally the best moment of my life. Like happiest moment of my life by far. Very touching moment. My mom was crying, I was crying, I was hysterical. My hair was like looking all types of ways you guys saw in the clip or whatever. Lips were crusty. Oh, that's what I was gonna tell you guys. If any of you guys are now pregnant, or if you plan on having children, please bring chapstick. Bring chapstick to the hospital because you are going to need it. My whole mouth, like especially my lips, but my whole mouth in general was so dry the whole time, because the whole time you're going and trying to breathe and trying to catch your breath, and doing that and not even getting a chance to catch your breath, all that air going in and out is completely drying your mouth out and drying your lips out. My mouth was so dry, my lips were like so cracked. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, Zaya was born, best moment of my life by far. Like, I don't know, like, have a kid, and then you will see. So yeah, my whole labor from 7:30 until Zaya was born was like 8 hours of labor. So kind of fast. I mean, I guess you could say that that was fast or quick, because like I said, especially it being my first child and stuff, a lot of times it can be 24 hours or whatever, but mine was 8 hours. And then, of course, afterwards they take Zaya, they wash her up, they do all the little checks, they weigh her, they do everything. She was completely, totally healthy and perfect, had all her fingers and toes and everything was in alignment, and she had a full head of hair and everything. So everything was perfect with her. She was so like puffy, and like her eyes were like so swollen, poor thing, and her cheeks were so puffy. I mean, her cheeks are still fat right now, like that didn't go away. But whenever she was born, like they're born with a lot more fluid, like I don't know, like more puffy and swollen when they're first born. So she was like super, super puffy and super fat looking and just so precious and so perfect. So yeah, she was born completely healthy. I was completely good. I didn't like lose a bunch of blood or anything crazy like that. Like my mom was saying, like it was a textbook delivery. So I was very lucky in that sense that I did not have any complications. I did not have any like weirdness going on, except for the fact that my epidural like only went to my right leg. That was like the only like weird thing that happened. But other than that, it was completely like by the book, healthy. Everything was good. So I was really, really happy about that. All the fear and anxiety and everything pretty much melted away like as soon as she was placed in my arms. So of course, you know, spend the next day in the hospital, and like the nurses and everyone are coming in every 5 minutes. You can't get any sleep, you can't get any peace and quiet to yourself because we have to come check you for this, oh we have to come check you for that, oh room service, oh the cleaning lady, oh the photographer, oh we need to get the insurance, oh we need to get the social security. Like literally every 2 seconds somebody is knocking on the door to the room to come in, or it's my sister coming to visit, or it's my dad or whoever. Like that was so annoying and something that I did not expect, I guess. Like I'm expecting to have like this cute moment with my baby, like oh I just had my baby, we're just having this peaceful time in the hospital room, like breastfeeding, blah blah blah. No, like every 5 minutes somebody was coming in bothering you, doing this, doing that. But finally you get everything done, you get everything squared away, and I was released from the hospital and we went home back to my parents' house, and that's where I still am today. So yes, I started having my contractions Wednesday night at 7:30. Zaya was born at 3:26 a.m. Thursday night, which was April 7th. So like I feel like technically I was right, because the whole time I was saying April 6th and I went into labor on April 6th. Technically, Zaya was born on April 7th, so you could technically say I was a day off, but I feel like mama knows. Mama knows when mama is gonna go into labor, okay? Like I knew the whole time it was not gonna be March 28th or anywhere around there. She was 7.13, so like under 8 pounds, and yeah, we went home Friday afternoon. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else to say in terms of my actual labor and delivery and recovery. I don't want to get too much into the actual mommy motherhood side of things, because I definitely want to make another video for kind of that whole side of things, like after she was born, first couple of weeks with her, how is that going, you know, what have I learned so far as a mother, all those things. I want to do a Q&A video, so definitely be on the lookout for that. And of course there's just going to be so many more videos coming up after this, but this one I kind of just wanted to tell my labor and delivery story, and I think I touched on everything. I know there's probably a few details that I left out, and you guys might have some more questions, so if you do, you can leave them in the comments down below and I will try to answer as many comments as I can. But yeah, I just want to thank you guys for all of your sweet words, and I've seen all of your comments saying how adorable she is, and she is pretty adorable if you ask me. So thank you guys so much for all of your sweet words and everything. It really means a lot to have your support through this journey into motherhood. It's been amazing so far. But like I said, I'll make a whole nother video about that. And of course, you know, I couldn't end this video without giving you guys Zaya's YouTube debut. She's like sleeping right now, like half asleep, I guess. But yes, here she is. Zaya Bear, Zaya Rain. Are you gonna wake up for the camera? But yeah, like I said, she's 3 weeks old now. 3 weeks and some change old now. Almost 1 month old already. I'm almost 1 month old already. So yeah, she's getting a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier now. She weighs 8 pounds 5 ounces now. So she's definitely gained some weight since she was born. So getting a little bit of weight. But yeah, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And stay tuned for that Q&A video and ask your extra questions there. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!